Hello, WPF. This is MC. I'm here with your Season 18 Psycho Boost player rankings. We tried doing something a little bit different this season. We figured out a little council to vote on the PRs this year, and we also had a public vote where we sent a forms in the Discord server, and we got a bunch of answers from that. So we're going to be averaging out these answers from this council we got, and then also the public voting. So we got 50-50 from both ends, and that factors in to the final placements. For each player, you'll see they'll be ranked in the total amount they got, but you'll also get to see what they placed on the public vote and the audience vote. And before we move on, I'm also gonna point out both of my friends here that are also in the call. So I'm also joined by Lantern Comic,
Hey, howdy, how's it going?
and I'm also joined by Samuel the Strong.
Super hype. What's up, everybody?
And these are both the players in Speed and Defense, while I'm the coach in Psycho Boost this season. And
Fortunately, our attack representative could not make it for this recording session.
yeah, it was a little bit rough, but we got it all figured out. We got our votes in, and I think we have some nice little results for you guys here.
Definitely.
Before we start off rambling on these different teams, just a little bit of a reminder. Power rankings are obviously inherently opinion-based, and they don't factor in player skill or usage preferences. This list is solely how we feel the teams themselves compare, and is no prediction of any given player's chances for this season. I think I've had many times where a team placed like 15th or 14th in like an early PR video, and then they came out to like win the whole season. So it's very much not like a big factor in your odds of success in a season. And I think
Also,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I just wanted to mention before we move on, actually shout out our attack panel representative, Bagel John. Thanks so much for your input.
Yeah, thanks a lot for both the Bagel and Lantern and Samuel here, who all helped me out a lot with votes and whatnot. And I think we're ready to jump in. So our first three divisions are 12-player divisions for Deoxys, for Psycho Boost, for Attack and Speed. And then the final division is going to be Defense Division. And Defense has 20 players this time. So we're probably going to separate this into separate videos, and then you're able to go watch whatever ranking you're down to watch. So let's get
brawl
right
in that basement.
Exactly. they gotta crawl out. They gotta get the reward.
They gotta just barely scrape by the skin of their teeth.
All right, I think let's get going with number 12 here, and we're gonna have McNutt with the Milwaukee Mammoths. Do you guys have early thoughts about this team?
Me personally, I see Screamtail, I think yes. I see Jirachi, I think no. I see them both on the same team, I think, why?
It's certainly
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm sorry. I'm going too negative right from the start. Let's talk about the positives first.
I got you on that, because I actually agreed with the audience here, put it right at number 9. I think this team has merit. I mean, I think all, 95% of these teams have great merit. Yeah, especially here in Psycho Boost. But, you got solid removal. You have multiple hazard options in Tusk, Jirachi, Screamtail. Ogerpon has spikes, so has less toxic spikes. You're well covered in that realm. You have what you need to stack the hazards, knock off the boots, do what you need to do with this team. Some definite threats that can sweep, that can just put out big damage right away. In Darkrai, Great Tusk, Dragonite can run Choice Band. It can run, Boots and Dragon Dance. It can run an encore set. It can go physical, it can go special, and I just think, especially these top 5, have some great threat potential, along with that Ogre Con hanging out at the bottom. I do think this team has a lot of potential to win games.
I noticed you glossed over the Screamtail when talking about threats. That thing is... I'll be upfront. I'm very biased towards Screamtail. I love the thing to death. But that thing can also be a threat, okay? Don't sleep on it. Now, I will say...
It's definitely not a mon to sleep on.
I do worry that because Screamtail and Jirachi are on the same team, that's going to kind of make prep for these mons a little easier, because they both do very similar things. The only main difference is the typing, and Screamtail is faster. That's, like, the only real thing that differences them. Like, they both have screens, they both have stealth rocks, both have Thunder Wave, both have Encore, both have pivoting, both have Wish. Like, they just... I don't understand that decision personally, but that said, I do think... Like, I just worry that it's going to make the team easier to prep for if 2 of the mons are doing incredibly similar things in a very similar way, if that makes sense.
I can see that, yeah, definitely. But it's not, you can't discredit... I think synergistically wise, that's why this team falls a little short, but I think it does have potential to win games, for sure.
I mean, absolutely. Like, Great Tusk is a Pokemon that you can never underestimate. That thing is going to kick your butt, and is going to kick it hard if you are not careful. That said, and this is coming from a guy who is not a Tusk user, and is actually a Tusk hater, but...
Dang. All right. I can somewhat agree with that. I think one big thing with this team is that I think you'll see that a lot of teams tend to have like a pretty menacing top 3, and like you'll usually see like 3 like big breakers, or like three like big offensive pieces that work well together. And in this case, I think you've got Tusk, you've got Darkrai, and then you like kind of have like Keldeo, and then like potentially Dragonite. I think Dragonite's role in general is going to be like very mixed in general.
Oh yeah,
that's just Dragonite as a whole.
Oh yeah.
That said, this team has a lot of Encore. I can spot 4 that I know off the top of my head get Encore: Ogerpon, Screamtail, Jirachi, and Dragonite.
Yeah. Don't try to set up.
Yeah, that is one thing I will give this team. You cannot set up on it, or you will probably get screwed.
No, definitely.
You can, but you gotta have the tools. You gotta have a mental orb. You gotta wait for the moment. But yeah, I agree with MC. That's the reason why I think it ranks low. Is just one of the things I look for is, are there 3, maybe 4 things that are nearly impossible to switch into unless you have like that one niche counter. And that's just not the case here.
Yeah, and I think that really like says something to like how strong all of the teams in this draft are. You've got like so many busted mons and Scarlet and Violet, and a lot of people can't necessarily get all of the great pieces.
For sure. Do we want to move forward?
Yeah, let's head over to number 11 here, where we have Shade with the Houston Glades. And this is one of the few teams that got access to Dialga Origin, which is an unbanned this season. I'm particularly interested in seeing it.
Nope, can't start off that way again. I do like that he's decided to get another Water and another Dark to go with Greninja, because the main thing about Greninja is it's not taking a hit very well. Like, the best it's taking is like a U-turn or like something like that. Mm-hmm. And even then, it's not going to take every U-turn out there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Especially considering it's Terra Greninja, and that like it's not going to be acting as like your Ghost Resist or your or like a bulky Water in any sense.
You look down at the other characters, and that thing's going to be terrestrializing 9 out of 10 games.
Oh yeah, you don't think they're going to bring Terra Regice often?
I think it could have a niche here and there, but it's like, if you're not if you're not slapping, if you're not using, I'm a Greninja Terra like top 1% fanboy. I love that Pokemon, and I do really think it's a little lackluster without Terra. But then that's when it fills those more niche roles with Protean, like run it as a Spiker, run it Choice, things like that. But when you have it Terra, it's like Battle Bond's going to come so often. Protean and Terra don't have great synergy in the first place.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think this team. I think this is a very interesting place to see Ogerpon Hearthflame. I think it's very well supported by like Magic Bounce Hatterene here, and
yeah, and
I think
Stoys.
while yes, it's typically ranked a lot lower than the other Ogerpon forms, we can see that like it's still like 350 speed and has like really good at offensive stats and setup, and like it's definitely not something we should like discount.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that I don't particularly. I do feel like this team could have a stronger physical attacker than Ogerpon Earthflame or Crocodile. Your main offense here is going to be looking like Greninja, Dialga, Zapdos, and I think you're not going to be seeing teams often have to run that much physical bulk to compensate.
Oh yeah, definitely not. But I mean, Dialga can always run some kind of more defensive base set, body press, heavy slam, and those moves, just base power and the base defense alone, just those are physical threats. And I can see how outside of that, it's really Ogerpon Hearthwind that has to carry the torch here.
Mm.
Like that's kind of with a grain of salt.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially going back to like Dialga Origin, like yeah, you can definitely run like mixed and stuff. I think I'm very not well versed in what that mon's able to do, and I'm really excited to see what kind of stuff it can pull off. It's just very, very much of an oddity to me of how it'll work out.
Yeah, not drafted very often in Ubers either, so I've never used it. I ran a mock against someone with the Dialga Origin matchup already, so like I did look into its moveset a little bit, but I definitely don't know its nuances yet, so I'm excited as well.
Yeah, Dialga's a weird one. I've seen it. I saw it in an Uber's game earlier do just essentially roar for Stealth Rock Ship, and it did do a solid chunk to a Mega Scizor with a Flash Cannon, so something can't hurt.
The stats are there. They're there.
Mm-hmm.
It's an Origin legendary.
I mean, it's 150 special attack and then a free 1.2x boost. I mean, it's probably it can't be that bad.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. I would not discount it when you're prepping.
One thing that does worry me, this team's ice resists are kind of subpar.
Mm-hmm. You are very much just looking at Blastoise and Regice, and Blastoise is.
Which means you're looking at Blastoise.
Yeah.
Like
you're probably
most ice types are going to get some sort of coverage for Regice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can see something like a Weavile running away at this team.
I was about to say, Weavile is the first thing that comes to mind. Something that would be even scarier, I think, could be a Mamoswine.
Mamoswine too. Yeah, no, I think this team's going to have a tough time with ice types. You might be forced to bring like Terra Steel or Terra Fire Greninja to compensate.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely going to be a little bit tough for this team to deal with that, because I don't think they're going to want to bring Regice that often. But yeah, I think otherwise this team. Yes,
if Regice comes to a single game this week, I am bringing props to this man. I've never seen Regice come to a game, so if he manages to bring it, good on him.
I think I remember bringing like a Blunder Policy Charge Beam set with like Terra Electric, and like somehow working off.
That sounds
fun.
Yeah.
It's not very good, but it's funny, and that's what counts.
So I think overall this team can be pretty threatening offensively, has some defensive holes, and lacks on the physically attacking side, if we were to summarize it.
Yeah, no, I think that about puts it all together. All right, I think we can move on to number 10, which is going to be Fact
Yeah.
Luigi with the Miami Delphox. And I think
Oh
immediately we
yeah.
can see a little bit of a power bump with this team, particularly when we're looking at Terra captains. And we're kind of seeing that while the previous teams kind of dumped into having one primary Terra captains with like a few like niche options that will most not likely not come. You're seeing here a team with both Urshifu, which is usually going to be a primary one, but also Raikou as a secondary Terra option that can very realistically come.
I'm gonna be
Oh
so
yeah.
for real. This team should have had a Torkoal.
A Torkoal.
A Torkoal or a Ninetales or something.
Oh, I guess you're just thinking about the fact that
Gouging.
it's Slither Wing, gouging. Yeah, okay. I don't know. I think those
Oh, I
mons
guess
have a lot of
so.
merit outside of the sun. Personally,
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of drafting weather, but that's again
I
very
I
very
I, I do,
Oh,
subjective.
Slithering is the goat.
that's true. I've never tried slithering before. It definitely seems interesting.
I've tried it once. It came to every single game except for one,
hmm
and it wasn't on Sun
when
either, so that's cool.
when setting up the rankings here, it actually surprised me how low this team ranked, at least with the audience. I personally think the top three of Necrozma Dawn, Gouging Fire, and Urshifu is very scary,
Oh,
especially
absolutely.
especially the core of Necrozma and Urshifu, where you're
Well,
Yeah,
going to be seeing that uh,
I mean,
Necrozma is going to want to spam these ghost and psychic moves that are going to get blanked like dark types, which Urshifu's obviously going to be able to feast upon.
that's the thing about all these really, really high tier ghost types. You always want a good fighting type and a good dark type to pair with them, which makes
Mhm.
Urshifu single just kind of roll compression. Well, not roll compression so much as type compression,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. I can see it.
But the other thing is that Urshifu single, that thing is breaker extraordinaire right there. That thing is going to kill you, and it's going to kill you quickly. It doesn't care if you resist it. Terra Dark Wicked Blow, go burr.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
say
not to
Urshifu
di-
singles only role is like boom bam pow right in the kissa. Like that's what it does.
oh, totally. And that's not to discount like more bulky setup variants, because then like as soon as you got an SD, you're always
Didn't someone get 6
threatening a
0'd
sucker,
by
and it's
a
crazy.
bulky SD this week at
Maybe
the time of recording
I
this?
haven't checked. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it's pretty damn good. But yeah, overall I agree with you, MC. I had this ranked a lot higher. I will say. It's like what we were talking about earlier. Those top three are all three Pokemon that you could very well see your team on your prep doc or however you prepare and look at it against it and just realize, oh, I literally don't have a switch in for Necrozma, or I literally don't have a switch in for, or like, how do I stop gouging from Dragon Dancing and just beating my whole team? That Fire Dragon covers, there's not too much that resists it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that Gouging Fire is a menace. It's one of those. It's one of those Pokemon that your team is very likely to not match up well against it because it's just going to like this thing won't be one stuff like Tinglu and Great Tusk. It should not be able to do that.
I think it's
Like,
it's tough to pull that off, but yes, I think it's within the realm of possibility.
Mhm. Um,
But I
if
also love Pheasantipity so much. That mon just eats so many threats. I mean, talk about Urshifu single. Fez is a mon you don't want to see on the other side. Forces you into running Iron Head, or
True.
you just say screw it. I'm gonna find another way to deal with it. It's
I mean,
definitely it's
Choice
definitely a
Band,
great
Terra Dark,
defensive
Wicked Blow
piece.
is probably gonna nuke it.
I will say, if we're looking at things, this team could probably get a little bit better. I think we're looking at this team's main form of I think this team's only form of removal is going to be Defog Wyvern here, which
Yeah,
is probably fine. You're definitely
I
going to
mean,
be
you got a
playing this
team with
team.
Gouging Fire and stuff like that. But at the same time, Gouging delights in running boots. As much it does love
Mhm.
leftovers, but also Gouging's one of those Pokemon that is so bulky sometimes it does not care about Stealth Rocks. It will set up on you anyway.
Oh, definitely. I mean, especially when it gets sustained with like Morning Sun.
So for all my Glaze of Slitherwing, I gotta point out, I got a question. Why is it here?
I think it's I think it can offer. I think when you're looking at the, I mean, I think it's like somewhat there to be bulky. I mean, it's like kind of okay as like a physically defensive mon, and it's also like a slow pivot with Empoleon. You're going to be wanting to find ways to get your top 3 in as much as possible. And that's mainly
but you also can use Fez and Deputy for the pivoting, right?
Yes, but Fez is also like a lot faster, and like even if you run like 0 min speed, you'll find that like it still outspeeds a lot of like slower mons or like slower breakers.
Fair.
Yeah, I will say it looks like this team's only form of item removal is Empoleon as well. I don't see any other mons here that get knock.
That too. I don't think it'll be that much of an issue because I don't think this team is going to be going for like hazard damage that much.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
I don't think most of these guys like okay. Let's look at the hazard setters. You got the Dunsparce with Stealth Rocks.
Yep.
You got Empoleon with Stealth Rocks. And then every other hazard, your Stealth Rocks and your Spikes, comes from Gastrodon, because I'm not confident that Fez gets Toxic Spikes.
I don't.
So the thing is, you're really only ever going to get Rocks up most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
The sad reality about Gastrodon is sometimes it can't accomplish as much as you would love for it to.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not.
And especially with Empoleon on the team, I don't know how much Gastrodon is going to get brought, because they're both like very bulky waters. I think Gastrodon is here primarily as a ground type, which is fine. I think that's great. Mm-hmm. I just worry that it might struggle to be brought at times.
Yeah, I think especially if like this team's looking at like a Regieleki team and they're like, oh, okay, well, I guess I have to bring Gastro. It's going to be a little bit awkward.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like, you don't need to knock off heavy duty boots as much if you've only got Stealth Rocks.
That's true.
Because that's effectively what this team has most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Do we have anything else to say about this team? All right.
I like its offensive core. I just don't know about its utility. I guess that's my thing personally.
That's fair. And I think I generally agree with that. All right, let's move on to number 9. And here we're going to have Gray with Nanjing Nidokings. And here we're going to see a flip where we go from a panel 7th vote to a panel 11th vote with an audience 7. I think this team is very interesting in that you're looking at Terra Tornadus, and it's coupled with a lot of you're looking at Kiram, you're looking at Chi-Yu. These are like big special breakers, and you've got like 2 spinners for it, which is neat. Means Torn probably isn't going to need to run boots that often, so you're going to be able to see it run like more, probably like a more offensive item with like a nasty plot set.
That's also really helpful for Kiram, who loves its choice specs, it loves its choice scarf, it loves its loaded dice and all that.
That and Chi-Yu, right? They're both going to be able to run their item and not have to worry about rocks as much if Tread and Quack can work together to keep those hazards off.
Gee, Kiram has a nasty breaking core.
This is the definition of breakers that need spinners and pivots, and you got it all. I mean, even Toxtricity can kind of bum around with some Volt switches, although its typing does leave it quite vulnerable.
Definitely.
This team, in terms of issues, this team's only ground resist is Torn and Rabambi.
Mm-hmm. That was a big one I saw, because you're looking at Torn being your only real ground weakness as that's usually coming, and that's the mon that's usually going to be Terra-ing out of the flying type.
Yeah.
Like, sure,
you can't bring Terra flying every week.
There are certainly some matchups where that will happen, because flying is a broken offensive type, but...
True.
Oh, definitely.
And also that means you can run Terra Blast if you want, just so you don't miss every hurricane.
This is why I will never draft Tornadus Therian.
Manual Quavel Rain, anyone?
Ooh.
Yeah, I can see it.
Otherwise, I think... Yeah,
one more thing I would like to
similarly...
point out.
Yeah, go ahead.
This team kind of struggles physically. Your only real physical... You don't really have... Your only real breaker on the physical side is Ogerpon. Treads is more utility-based, generally speaking. It can run a nasty choice band set sometimes, but most of the time it's not going to. And then Ogerpon is like... And then Quaquaval is very much a sweeper.
Yeah.
I was going to say, don't discount Quaquaval. I mean, you can't slap a choice band on it. It's like choice band Aqua Step Moxie when the water resist is low. That could just win a game straight up.
That's true.
It is tough, though. I agree with you. It's a little lacking on the physical side.
I think one issue I personally had with this is that I do think Treads is going to see itself be very... Treads is the only Stealth Rock setter on this team. And that means you're often going to find yourself like pigeonholed into running both rocks and spin on it. Which
you have
means...
3 hazard setters, period, on this team. Treads with rocks, spikes with Ogerpon, and then webs with Rabombi.
I think
neither one really wants to run hazards. Like Treads and Ogerpon Cornerstone would like to not run hazards if they don't have to.
I do think technically you also get Toxic Spikes with Toxtricity, but like that's not good. Let's be real.
Toxtricity is so much more breaker. Like this team is the emphasis of special breakers that will ruin your day.
Oh,
in
definitely.
my opinion.
And in this generation, special's really hard to switch into. So it's I think this team has potential for sure.
Absolutely. Like despite how much crap I was talking about it, this is undoubtedly a very solid team, and it's probably one I could see myself drafting minus the Tauren.
Yeah, I think their opponents are definitely going to see themselves bringing like AV a bunch. I think that's going to be very useful for both like pivoting into the Kieran and the Chiyu.
I mean, be that as it may, you've also got 4 very solid knockoff users. You got Tauren, Treads, Quack, and Ogerpon.
Very true.
Even those Assault Vests won't save them forever.
Any more thoughts on this? I think we can probably move on to number 8 here. And here we have 99X Izzy with the New York Goths. And here we've got a very interesting Iron Bundle team, which is also somewhat of a grassy terrain team.
That was part of why I wasn't the biggest fan of this team, just because it has some of the synergies there, but then Rillaboom's purpose setting grassy terrain, in my opinion, is mostly just for Sneasler. Goldango gets a little bit of benefit from it.
Let me disagree with you on that for a second. I don't think Rillaboom's purpose is solely the grassy terrain. You got a lot of physical... You don't got much physical offense on here, but you definitely don't have as many...
Roaring Moon, Sneasler, Donphan...
Okay, let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that again. Rillaboom, that thing is going to break everything, and the big thing about Rillaboom on this team is, first off, it does a couple more things than that. The grassy terrain recovery is great for Diancie and Farigiraf, of course.
Definitely.
And for Goldengo. However, Rillaboom as a whole is actually also really helpful for the Iron Bundle and for the Goldengo. For Sneasler too. Its grass typing is really good at breaking stuff like the water types, like not the poison, like the ground types and all that. Which quite honestly, I do recognize you have Thunderous Therian for bulky waters. You can net Rillaboom plus Thunderous Therian. Bulky waters beware.
I think Rillaboom is fairly nice here. You're going to see the combo of Rillaboom, Sneasler, Goldengo a lot in many of these drafts. and that's because it's just like generally fairly good.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Goldango just really appreciates grassy terrain a lot, both for the free leftovers, both for basically the ground weakness removal from Earthquake. And then you'll also see Grassy Seed Goldango a lot, and that can function very well as a setup sweeper.
The other
Um,
thing, while we're talking on Grassy Seed subject, Grassy Seed Roaring Moon is like I did a mock
ooh,
recently with a friend where I brought a Misty Surge Galarian Wheezing and a Misty Seed on a Roaring Moon to let it set
ooh,
up more easily in front of certain weaker fairies, like a Klefki.
interesting.
So like that
Speaking
is
of fairies, Enamorous, when I was looking at this team, all I was thinking was Enamorous could kind of eat it up here. I mean, Bundle's definitely threatening into it,
I
but
mean,
like,
let's be real, Enamorous eats up most teams.
yeah.
Like, so
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
mean,
gonna
I can
count.
agree with
I'm not gonna
that.
count that against it. I'm not gonna count that against it because Enamorous eats up most teams.
That's
I
true.
think
I
I
was
think
thinking like a
another
Nam looked
team.
good.
Mhm. I
Val
think
looked
another
good.
thing this team does very well is the fast offensive breakers here. Bundle,
Oh,
Moon, Sneasler, those are very good offensive pieces that
bro took like
br
half the speed on the board.
oh totally, they're like
That's true. This team's
immediately
super quick.
threatening, and Bundle is able to like Bundle and Moon are able to Volt turn into each other. Well, I say Volt turn, but it's like flip
Yeah, I know what you
turn, I
mean. Flip
guess.
turn, U-turn, U-turn. Yeah.
Um,
This team has a
and
lot of pivoting.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely has a lot. I would say I'm a little bit shakier on like the offensive side of here. I think you're gonna find yourself needing probably bulky Goldengo a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and like I mean, you have Donphan, you have like Diancie, but
Thunder
yeah,
Asterion can run a pretty mean Assault Vest set.
hmm, interesting. I
Yeah.
hadn't thought.
That was where it was lacking for me when ranking it just defensively overall. I think it's definitely very offensively threatening, but I think a lot of matchups are going to be on the more fragile side, where a few wrong plays can really send you down the wrong
That's okay. That's the other
path.
thing Rillaboom does. I thought there was one more. The other thing Rillaboom does is it U-turns into a lot of these faster, frailer offensive Pokemon, like the Sneasler, like the
Hmm.
Roaring Moon, like the Bundle.
Yeah, and then like you also don't want to discount like Grassy Glide is a good move. It's like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
very
Rillaboom's a good
strong prio
Pokemon.
here, and you definitely don't want to discount that.
A Choice
Um,
Band Woodhammer and Grassy Terrain is absurd.
yeah, definitely.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think we can all agree this is an extremely well built and very, very offensively threatening team that is going to win games.
Hmm. I will say, on the hazard side, it's a little bit lacking. I think you're looking again at Donphan maybe having to run both rocks and spin. Otherwise, you kind of need to
Mm.
bring Diancie. Because Diancie's your only other hazard setter with both rocks and spikes.
Yeah, that's
So you
true.
might be a little bit more lacking on the hazards end. But otherwise, this team just like blows you out offensively and then has like fairly good ways to like overcome that issue, I think.
Oh yeah, get in the driver's seat and stay in the driver's seat, and you're gonna have a tough time clawing your way back against this team.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. I think we're good to move on to number 7.
Yes.
And here we're going to have Katcherin with the Tinkaton Titans. And I find this team very interesting because, first of all, we're going to see a little bit of a gap here in the panel vote and the audience vote. And I think that stems a little bit from I don't think many people know how to judge Shaman Sky.
Yeah, I personally don't think it's all of that. Well, okay, I've learned to respect it by. I mean, we all run a lot of mocks, but I've learned to respect it a little more through mocks. It's an ever-present threat when you're facing it. Definitely, you always got to like consider about can I get my end game going here, there, or the other? Because you call it gambling, but it is a reliable strategy to go for those flinches. And Seed Flare is just a hell of a move. Like that move's
Very
crazy.
much.
That move turns your Spit F wall into like a Melmetal. I mean, Melmetal would do all right here, but Melmetal Spit F is really bad.
Oh yeah. I
Why
think
did they have to give this Pokemon Serene Grace?
they wanted to see the world burn.
Oh yeah, definitely.
This
Very
is
clearly.
it did also get a fairly substantial nerf in Gen 9 with Covert Cloak being around. So I think you might
That's
see
true.
a lot of people running that as like a fairly strong way to counter it.
That assumes it doesn't just deal absurd amounts of damage to you with like a spec set or something.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm very scared of Terra Iron Boulder as well. I think
That's a Pokemon right there.
that's
Terra
something
Boulder
that's-
is one of those that you always gotta respect.
oh,
Like, a lot of
definitely.
people will go out and call it fraudulent. I say, hey, don't call that thing fraudulent. It will sweep you.
See, that mon is fraudulent until it Terras, and then it's
Oh,
over.
yeah. Yeah. It's that Cope
long as
like,
you're-
I wish I had it on my team, is what they're really saying.
Oh, damn.
When it comes to me personally, I found a little bit of issues with team when it comes to your hazard setters. You're
Yep.
very much focused on Chomp here. Chomp is your only realistic hazard setter with both rocks and spikes.
Speaking of
And
Chomp, there's a speed gap from that to Boulder, which is pretty... Because then you got stuff like a Meowscarada that's just gonna run Adamant all over your face.
a little bit tough.
Or Greninja is gonna run Modest.
Oh yeah.
You can respect it just because the 115 to 120 range is pretty sparse in terms of Pokemon that are extremely good, but almost everyone
That's
has
true.
one in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even a Noivern would absolutely hurt this team.
Yeah. I think you're looking at also removal wise, you've got like Weezing and Scissor, both defog, and then
Don't forget
obvious-
Conk. Conk's got that defog too.
Right. And why does that one get defog? Nobody knows.
It's never gonna run
Another
it.
question, why of all Pokemon that got defog cut from their moveset, did Conkeldurr get to keep it?
It's I don't even know what it has in the first place. It's
It's swinging around them concrete blocks real fast, brother.
Yeah, I think this team, you're looking at fairly strong physical mons with Scissor, Boulder, Garchomp.
Wait,
You're
are his only special attackers Rotom and Skyman?
pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, Geezing commonly runs special, but that's hardly offensive.
Yeah, I think you're mainly going to be looking at using utility Washtom here, and that
Yeah.
means you're kind of leaving the bulk of your special offense on Shaman Sky here, which is probably fine. But I
I mean, it's
think
a fast AF Pokemon to do it.
yeah, I think Shaman is probably going to act less as a breaker and more as a cleaner, and then like goes for the air slash flinch whenever possible.
I mean, the other thing it can do that I don't know if we've even discussed, Skyman has the fastest Healing Wish in the West.
Oh, interesting. I haven't
That's true. That's true.
considered that. I do,
'Cause, like-
But I do agree with you.
We all know how broken Healing Wish is.
Could
Like,
be strong on Boulder. Could be good into Chomp. Definitely have
Yeah.
options.
even Scizor, Lax, Conk,
Scizor.
even Mimikyu. Well, probably not
You can let your
Mimikyu as
Scizor
much.
get burned and get back on the field later if you need to. Yeah, that's
That is
definitely.
true.
I mean, you could say that about any of the physical attackers. You could let something get burned, in exchange for, grab a KO with it,
Mhm.
chip something else that burns it, and then you come back later. Something like a
Yeah.
Skeledirge or another strong ghost type.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of ghost types, this team's resists to them are Snorlax and Honchkrow.
Yeah.
Snorlax is pretty good in the ghost types in general. There's not
no,
too
absolutely.
many physical ghost types in general that
Even
I think
so-
are extremely threatening.
I mean,
Yeah,
like
You got
Sarah
Sarah
Ledge,
Ledge.
but like,
Sarah Ledge could definitely cut through this team a little bit. I could see that.
hmm
but that said, I still really like this team for all the shit I've been talking about it.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see why it got ranked so high on the audience vote.
Yeah.
Did we have anything else we wanted to point out? I think we're probably good to move over to number 6 here.
Haunch Crow Watch. Last
Indeed.
comment. That
All
mon,
right,
I love that mon.
let's move on to number 6 here, which is going to be Elgino with the Celestial Celebi. And
This team is really good.
it's very good.
Like, I have this ranked in
I
the top
agree.
3.
I think just the core of Bolt and Palafin
That is an
off rip
absurd
is very
core.
strong.
I've had the fortune to be able to use it before. Like, it's an absurd core. And I didn't
Very
even use it with
much.
Terra. I just had it Bolt Palafin, which is like still insane. The thing is they both really benefit each other a lot. Raging Bolt switches into all of Palafin's weaknesses, those electrics and those grasses. And then Palafin also switches in, well, it doesn't switch into many of Raging Bolt's weaknesses, but what it does is it benefits from Raging Bolt in the sense that Bolt is what we call a bulky pivot, a bolty pivot, if you will. But it's going to use its slow and bulk stats to get that Palafin in, or to get that Weavile in that's down there, or that Iron Moth. Like, Raging Bolt, Palafin, Iron Moth, that is core I have used before. It is amazingly strong. Do not discount it ever. You are going to regret that. But also, you got this... Like, it's just absurd.
And that's not to
Weavile's there
discount.
too.
Yeah, that's not to discount their offensive synergy together, because you're looking at Palafin getting blanked by water and grass types usually, which obviously Bolt is going to eat those up by resisting both of those. And then Bolt
And
is
for the
obviously
grass
gonna
types,
yeah, Bolt is going to have those issues with the ground types that Palafin is going to be
Yeah.
able to abuse very easily.
and Weavile
Definitely.
and Iron Moth add even more to that, in that you are just not safe. Like, all bulky waters that are fighting into this team are going to be really feeling themselves overtaxed, trying to deal with Iron Moth, Weavile, and Palafin. Like, that's just not realistic to expect of one Pokemon.
hmm
The Lando T-Snag is really nice, just because that's something that, provides a bit of difficulty for Raging Bolt. But with the Palafin, it wouldn't even matter. Yeah, it's really good. It's tough. It's one of those teams where you're like, oh, I can do this, but wait, oh no, that. Oh, I can try no, but that. It's like trying to build a defensive core to take on this team is going to be a big struggle with those top 5.
I don't know that it's possible.
Oh no, I played this
Yeah.
team week 1, and it was a nightmare to build for.
I think this team, you have to go really offensive to beat it, and even then, you might not beat it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, I had this ranked as, like, a top 3 team for a reason. Now, I will
Mhm.
say, it does fall off a little bit after the top 5.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I looked at the spinners here, and I kind of like, I don't know. I think you're looking at Fortress. Guys, I'm gonna say it. I think Fortress is a fraud.
I mean, Zarina's not much better.
I've tried to use Fortress in the past. Keyword tried.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have a hard time realistically spinning. I think any team with like a solid spin blocker is just gonna be able to sit on both of these fairly easily.
Yeah,
I think
and
this
that,
is definitely...
speaking of ground types, that's where potentially you could run into some slight issues into matchups with
anything
Pokemon
major.
like Tusk. Yeah, oh, definitely not. Not
Because
major.
you have
I
the
mean, Lando's
Landorus
team is
Therian,
great.
and then
But
Palafin
when that
and
goes
Weavile threaten
down,
the lights out of all those.
yeah, definitely.
Because,
Offensively,
like,
you're gonna have to check them well.
Yeah, no, I can definitely.
I do think this team relies a little bit on Fortress for hazards a little bit. Because, like, Landorus is just stealth rocks.
I mean, I think rocks on Lando is usually bringable. I think Landorus is fairly nice as a defensive piece here. You got it for like Intim, pivoting, Earthquake. I think it's usually gonna be running rocks, and that's probably fine. But yeah,
I'm
if
gonna
you
go
want
ahead and make
anything
a
more than
call.
that, you need Fortress.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a call, and I'm gonna say that Meloetta is gonna be the sleeper hero. Like, that's gonna be... I think that's gonna be, like, the secret 6 Pokemon that's gonna come to a lot of the games. Because I think Terra Meloetta is an insane threat. You literally have no idea what it's going to do until it does it.
Yeah, in theory, like, Meloetta Pirouette, Terra is probably good.
Even Meloetta just Mario form with Terra is going to be insane. Like, I'm calling it now. Meloetta is going to go insane. That's my prediction of the div.
I'm waiting for it to pop off for Heat of the Week.
Oh, Meloetta is one of those that I definitely could see that doing it. Assuming Palafin and Bolt don't take all the spotlight.
So there's almost nothing negative you can say about this team outside of, like we talked about, where the hazards are. But I mean, like, you try to find a way through this team, as you've already tried MC, and it's going to be tough. It's going to come down to play every time with this team.
Mm-hmm.
Play and then team building as well. Like, if you mess up in team building, that could also be really, really bad.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but there's no, like, one recipe that I feel, like, trying to think of different Pokemon, and there's no one recipe I feel like that can get past this team.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think we're probably good to move on into number 5 here, which is going to be Lucas2543 with the Auckland Licky Pies. And looking at this team logo has haunted my dreams. But otherwise, if
I think it's an Infinite Fusion sprite.
I'm pretty sure it is. If we look otherwise, though, at the actual team, I think this team is... You can immediately feel like the echelon building here. I think the defensive core is insane.
I think, oh yeah, is evil.
I don't know how you break Tinglu, Petch, Corviknight.
I mean,
not to mention Primarina is really good. Primarina is really good into some of the premier offensive threats as well. I love that Pokemon when I'm building from a defensive standpoint. It can't survive forever, but it can switch in for sure. It can switch in a few times to some top threats.
I think
I just realized something. Yeah. That is a round 7 Terra Regieleki.
Yeah, that too.
Why?
I like Terrakion too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Terrakion's probably more justifiable, but I think many people are a little bit wary of how good Terra Regieleki is this season. And I think
a lot of people seem to think it's fraudulent.
I can see why people would think that, and
I've mentioned my takes in the server many times before. If you want, ping me and ask them. No, don't actually. I don't want other pings.
I think one of the arguments is that it doesn't get the transistor boost on its Terra Blast, whatever type it chooses to go.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does need some chip on the ground types and stuff before it can actually beat them with its Terra. What I do think this team does accomplish really well, that a Terra Regieleki team should accomplish, is it pivots around and deals a lot of chip to the Pokemon that they struggle with. And that's the other thing. I don't even think Regieleki was drafted as the centerpiece.
Oh,
that is very clearly a Meowscarada-centric team, I would think.
And I'm trying not to bring in bias from the first game or two, but I mean, I did watch. It's just the pure, like, threat and speed of Regieleki hitting the field so often. I think it was running boots, if I'm recalling correctly, but it's just like, it's just hitting the field, pivoting around, dishing out damage, and it was just to the point where, like, the other team just couldn't keep up with the momentum. Like, the momentum of this team is insane, and then you have these, like, really tough to break Pokemon that just, like, hit the field and shut down any hopes of the other person getting set up or accomplishing too much, making progress. It's a really solidly built team, in my opinion.
Put it into perspective for how much pivoting this team has. There are 3 Pokemon out of 10 that do not have a pivot move.
Yup, and one of them's a Tinglu.
And
which is kind of like can pivot in its own right, even without pivoting.
I will say, for all the good stuff I've been talking about this team, it loses points for me just because Corviknight plus UC, like, come on. Could you not have drafted a Mesprit or something?
I think it's decent here. I think you're
But,
looking
like,
at.
I like
I,
it.
to be fair, I also really don't like Ehmcee or Corviknight as Pokemon. I think they are horrible. I think they do not deserve to be drafted.
I think you're sleeping on Corv. I quite enjoyed it last season.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. Defog, and then not to mention people run it with screens a lot in draft. That's a Pokemon that you're never worried. Oh, can I get the screens up? No, yeah, you can get the screens up with Corviknight. It's gonna live, and then it's gonna live more.
Yeah, I will say, there's
I just don't respect Corviknight.
I will say there's very good pieces to support Regieleki here. Not only do we talk about all the Volturn here, obviously Regieleki is going to maybe have issues here with some bulky grounds, and then obviously you're going to have both Primarina and Meowscarada going to be able to not only deal with those ground types and exert that pressure, but also have their own ways to pivot out back into Regieleki with both U-turn and flip.
Yeah.
And I know one thing that some of the players might be thinking about trying to beat this team initially. Like, they look at the fast Pokemon and they think, oh, this looks like a trick. I could maybe run a Trick Room if I got access to it. You cannot do that into a Tinglu.
I don't like running Trick Room in the first place, but yeah, I agree. Tinglu kind of shuts it down.
Yeah. It's very much going to try to like whirlwind you out, and then you're not going to be able to capitalize off those Trick Room turns that much.
Definitely not.
Mm-hmm. I think Terrakion is like decent here as a secondary Terramon. You definitely have the option to like set up with it. I think we saw Terra Grass from it last week with like Swords Dance, and it was fairly decent.
I mean, that's the other thing, is that I think on this team you don't necessarily need to Terra Regieleki every time. Like, sure you can, and you'll get a lot of value out of that, but you get plenty of value from terrestrializing Terrakion or Typhlosion as well.
Oh, like, definitely.
Typhlosion, you can get up. That is a button. Terrafire Eruption is a button and a half.
Just a nuke button, 100%. Yeah, I don't really have anything negative to say about this team. I like all of these Pokemon. I could maybe see what you're talking about with the Ehmcee Corviknight getting a little passive at times, but it's just got the gas with Meow, Regieleki.
Corviknight more so than Ehmcee, honestly. Like, at least Ehmcee has Encore.
It's true.
All right. With all that being said, I think we can move on to number 4 here, which is going to be Dr. Geo with a Columbus Gallade. And interestingly,
second Gallade team, by the way.
Interestingly here, I think you'll see this is the second team we have at second place from the panel. I believe that's because we had a tie for it that we didn't end up breaking. But that just means how highly this team also placed for us on our end. I think the top 3 is great. You've got G-King, Zamazenta being a tried and true core. I think it's very obnoxious, very annoying. They both synergize very well. You can do like Future Sight into Zamazenta pressure, which is like fairly guaranteed. And then Ogrefonk is there too.
And you just got a Landers hanging out right underneath. I love the Baxcalibur at the end, and just how extremely tough this team is going to be to break. Like, Ogerpon Wellspring does not need to Terra. And when Skeledirge does Terra in certain matchups, that thing is unkillable. Mandibuzz is very hard to take down. Zama's very hard to take down. Slowking with that Regenerator. It's just, this team is so solidly built that it just feels like you're going to need to really, really play your cards right. Think of some good tech options, good utility options, taunts here and there, Encore. You're going to need to play carefully to break and get through this team. Just really, really strong.
I think you also have Klefki here being... I mean, I think it's probably going to be your primary hazard setter here. I think...
Oh, yeah.
Most likely you're not bringing Roxlando. I think that's kind of going to mean you're going to want to play a little bit more like hyper offensively instead of going that bulky most of the time. But you definitely have the means to like remove hazards with Defog Mandibuzz.
Yeah, that is one thing that I was gonna say is if you're gonna be bringing the Mandibuzz, there's that kind of anti-synergy with Klefki who wants to set up spikes, but Klefki, and Klefki wants to set up screens. So yeah, I don't see those two. Those two aren't a fantastic pair if that's your goal to
I
accomplish.
don't
But
think
from
Mandibuzz is
an
a
HO,
I don't think Mandibuzz is a
HO
fantastic
standpoint,
Pokemon in general. I'm gonna be honest.
I don't think it's great.
I
I just
think
think it
it's
can be tough to
fair.
break.
Like I tried using that once. It stayed on the team mostly out of necessity more than anything. But it just I brought it to games and it just kind of sucked.
It's not an every game bring. Like that's just
Oh,
what
yeah.
it is, and
Even to
especially
the
when you have Excalibur hanging out down there, like that mon's gonna come over Mandibuzz, Klefki, Skeledirge, Charjabug all the time.
Oh yeah, I'm particularly looking forward to seeing Charjabug pop off because for some context for myself, I have seen some games where Charjabug goes insane. I think a couple seasons ago in one of the divisions, a Charjabug got 3 KOs in one match.
Wow.
So that's cool, and I want to see that happen again. I want to see if someone can beat that.
Interesting.
Battery go Burr.
He's the bus.
Yeah, no, I think other high praises for this team. I think slugging is like the perfect mount to bring Zamazenta and Ogerpon in, and then you also have like big offense with both Excalibur and Landorus. I think it might be a little bit lacking on. I mean, actually, no. Yeah, I think it was a little bit lacking, like for like hazards. You're mainly going to be looking at Klefki, but otherwise, I think this team's going to do great.
I mean,
This might be one of those teams that doesn't need to run hazards very often.
That's true.
I don't think this team needs hazards whatsoever. Ogerpon Wellspring never needs it.
That's true.
It needs removal, but it doesn't need like actual hazards. This team doesn't have hazard removal outside Mandibuzz. I just noticed that. You guys probably talked a lot about that, and I didn't notice.
Not the first team we've seen with solo defog on something.
True. Yeah.
I'd still rather have one Wacky Spin instead of just one defog.
Yeah. Shall we move on?
Yes. Yes. He muted. Okay.
Cool. I mean, yeah, he's let's just go through this one. Us two. I guess that kind of makes the most sense to not talk about your own team anyway.
Yeah.
But I just love this top 3 so freaking much. It is so ridiculous.
Yeah, you got Dragapult, Terra Enamorus, Urshifu, Rapid Strike. That is insane. Like, Urshifu Dragapult is like common enough. Like, you see that all the time. You don't often see a Terra Enamorus with it.
Yeah, that's just talk about like we were talking about earlier. Like you want mods that are really tough to switch into, nearly impossible. I mean, Enamorus Incarnate is like pretty much the definition of that. Like right now in the current draft meta, Urshifu Rapid incredibly hard to switch into, and Dragapult's set variety, ability to hit hard, and it's a really great glue in a lot of matchups, and an extremely good, if not one of the best picks that you can make in draft right now.
I'm a big fan of Dragon Dance, Dragapult personally.
You go a lot of directions with it.
Like, hot take, I think Specs Dragapult is Hawk Garbo.
I think it has its merit, but you have Specs option, you have Choice Band option, Dragon Dance, Bulky Pivot, you got your Wisp packs, you got screens. It's just they gave every tool that they want.
I've seen some crazy people run Choice Scarf.
Hey, if the matchup calls for it, it calls for it. I've run Scarf Bundle in the past even. I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But then looking past those top 3, I think you have really, really fantastic hazard options. Tank, Glamora, Swampert. King Gambit has rocks. You're not going to run it very often, but it's there. And then, in my personal opinion, the Swampert plus a Fire Flying type kind of, maybe I wouldn't call it a core, but just how it works defensively, especially when they can pivot, flip turn, U-turn. It's just really, really nice. I'm actually not 100% sure that Talonflame gets a pivoting move. I don't remember off the top of my head. It does,
it gets U-turn.
I mean, it's a bird, yeah. Most birds get U-turn. But it's just, you have that really solid kind of hazard core, I would even call it. And all of those Pokemon can come in and take a hit from some type of top threat. Tank, Glim, Swampert. I mean, you may have to run Balloon on Tank or Glim at times, but you really have solid defensive options that can be offensive. You can bring like a Banded Swampert or a Bulk Up Pert, or you can bring Glamora with a Power Herb and really surprise them.
Or a
Talonflame
Choice
has a Sword
Scarf
Dance option.
Choice Scarf is one of my personal favorite Glamora sets.
Yeah, just anything to get it out of that speed tier and make it do some things. But it's just really, really solid from a utility standpoint. Has breaking potential, has sweeping potential, setup potential. It's just this team has almost everything you
Because
want. I had
this
it ranked
team
very highly.
yeah, and I had it ranked highly too. And because this team has as many hazard options as it does, you can that often allows you to free up your Glamora to have those offensive sets, so that way it can participate in the breaking or the sweeping. Because that thing has the same special attack set as an Amorous, so that thing is going to do.
I
Some
thought an
damage.
Amorous was 135. I know I might be wrong, but I know
It
Glim is
is,
130.
and so is Glamora. Oh no,
Glim's
Glamora's
130.
130.
I draft that thing
Oh.
every season. The literal only issue you run into with this team, or potential issue that you could run into, and I'm realizing I have to kind of like walk this statement back, is that Glim has to run Mortal Spin a lot, but then Talonflame has Defog. So Glamora's not even forced into spinning. It doesn't need to run Hazards. It doesn't need to run Mortal Spin. It's free to do as it pleases, which is really nice to see, because I think it shines most when it can just either, chuck all the hazards at the enemy team, or run a corrosion set and toxic their steel type, or like we talked about,
Sleep
just
on corrosion,
popping
Glamora.
with its coverage options. Fairy, grass, rock innately and poison innately, but you have earth power. It's a really good Pokemon. It's worth the value that it is.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely. And then I love seeing Swampert drafted. I haven't seen it drafted nearly as much lately, but what I do know is that Swampert is an insanely good Pokemon when it is drafted, and it's a very reliable ground type.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you have to respect it if you see a Choice Band Swampert. That I think Samuel talked about that earlier.
Yeah, I mentioned that before, yeah. I just love Talonflame or Moltres with Swampert, just because the big thing is, the grass coverage, right? But then Talonflame, Tinkaton, Kingambit, Dragapult, and Am. Like nothing there's almost nothing on this team that can't take a grass type attack. Not that grass is the best offensive type in the first place, but there's also that Gambit near the bottom, and you just have to respect that. Because you think about those top three when you're playing, and then all of a sudden, there's 4 down, the Gambit hits the field, and it SDs, and it's just Joker. Like, it's a really solid team. I love this team. I hope it goes
My
far.
only other question: what have you been giving this Leavanny, Malcolm?
Drugs, clearly. it performed last week. It kind of just 1v1'd a Primarina and a Regieleki.
I gotta catch that.
Like this, he was feeding his Leavanny something.
Some of that illegal fertilizer.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for glazing my team for 4 minutes. Sorry, I had to take a phone call there.
I feel bad because I feel like I haven't been glazing other people's teams as much as this one, but I think this one was ranked pretty highly for me.
I've been glazing a fair few teams, but I've also been shitting on a lot of them, so it's fine.
That's fair. All right, we think we can move on to number 2 here. And here we're going to have Hawaiian Shaman with the Stark Mounted Heatrans. Here we
I just want to say, as someone who drafted Zarude Terra, this is when I saw this, I was like, this is the Zarude team.
Oh, totally.
Like, this is everything you could want. Oh my gosh. I want a Gliscor so bad. I'm so jealous of this team, I can't lie. The hazards, the defensive core, the Tentacruel for spin, which I think is actually one of the best mid-range spinners on the board. It's really set up to support that Zarude.
Mm-hmm. I think
also,
yeah,
the Gliscor Florges core is one of my personal favorites. So, I don't use generally too many defensive cores. Gliscor Florges is probably one of my favorites.
I will say something we've seen with the Zarude takeover for the past year or so is that a lot of the times you're going to be looking at teams that are able to support that Zarude as well as possible, kind of like how Sam was saying there. And here you have a variety of different hazards. You've got Deoxys, Gliscor, Heatran, that are all very, very capable of running hazards. And
even Spidops.
yeah, Spidops with webs, and you have what I would argue is probably one of the best spin blockers in Annihilate, which could both.
Okay, I would like to clarify. I think Goldango is the best spin blocker. Annihilate is the best spin punisher.
That's fair. Annihilate is going to be
Goldango just looks at your removal and says "fuck you." Annihilate looks at your removal and says "I'm gonna kill you."
That's true. Yeah, that's very true.
But yeah, no, the fact that Zarude has all this great, not only this great hazard support, but then also you have pivoting from Tentacruel, pivoting from Gliscor, you have Wish support from Florges, and you have a strong special attacker alongside it with Deoxys, who's also able to do basically all of your speed control. And I think Zarude is just incredibly well supported here.
Yeah, and Bloodmoon's just kind of hanging out down there.
And I think by extension, the Annihilate is also just as well supported, because Annihilate benefits from a lot of the same support that Zarude does.
Yeah, and if you want to go with like more of a pivoting set for either one of them, like if it just feels like an Annihilate game, just slap U-turn on Zarude. Feels like a Zarude game, slap U-turn on Annihilate. You know, it's just...
And like, both of them are very solid.
It's really nice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Although definitely. You don't usually want to use your Terra Zarude on a Scarf set, you absolutely can.
No. 9 times out of 10, you want it to be there to set up.
Gliscor being a hazard, status absorber is also quite nice for non-jungle healing Zarudes, who always have that option of going into Gliscor to like dodge a burn or poison or paralysis.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, you get off an SD and get some chip off, and then you can get out of there, and you can SD up again later. I mean, that's kind of powers Zarude.
It does mean you're able to run like Synthesis over jungle healing, which makes your setup lines a little bit more consistent at times.
You do still got to be careful around stuff like your Greninjas and like your Weaviles and whatnot, but like that's I think that's fine with this team, because like even so, you have a Pokemon that has speed stuff like that. You have Jolteon, you have Deoxys speed, like your speed tiers. You may have gaps in your speed tiers. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the biggest deal here. I think.
Yeah, I was going to say there's that 130 to 105. You know, anything in that 120, 125-ish range. Which, as I discussed earlier, it's not like there's 50 Pokemon that are viable in that range.
But
most teams have one. Yeah, most teams have one. That's where Deoxys speed comes into play, as Ehmcee was pointing out. It's just like it is the speed. It's speed control like incarnate. Got all the other.
Remember why no one drafted Geo speed in defense?
Yeah, that is kind of weird. Both division. We'll get to that.
I think it's
anyway. Yeah, this is a really solid team.
All right.
Oh, it's not like the easiest Pokemon to use, but it's got options.
I will say.
Heatran. I just want to real quick talk about the Blood Moon. That thing is scary.
I'm very interested whenever I see a Blood Moon on a team, because I'm always used to seeing it with Terra.
I'm talking about all these things like Special Breaker Incarnate. Blood Moon is one of those.
Yeah.
Like
it definitely is.
And you can't even use a ghost type to get around Blood Moon. Like, come on. Give us something to work with, please! Don't want my Scizor getting O-code by a Blood Moon.
The only defensive consideration I will say is that when you look at a Pokemon like Heatran as your Steel type and what it wants to accomplish, I think it's great at getting up hazards, trapping something here or there. But at the end of the day, everything that it wants to check usually has strong coverage into it.
I think the best Heatran set this generation is Choice Scarf. Honestly, is Choice Scarf or Choice Specs.
Interesting.
Like I think defensive Heatran is really hard to pull off this gen.
It is. I had to drop it. Like, I know how hard it is to pull it off defensively. And I just kind of gave up. Maybe it wasn't the best choice, but I gave up.
That's probably fair. All right. I think we're...
That said, I do still love this team overall.
That's fair.
Oh, definitely, yeah. That's
my only qualm. We're probably good to move on to our final slot here, which is actually going to be number 1 with Techno. With his team name 404 logo not found. And
Lord
So
and
don't
Savior
worry,
Techno.
Techno Bright.
So
We had to put it up. We had to put Techno at first because Techno is the owner, and he would have kicked us out
yeah,
otherwise.
that's true. This is blatant manipulation from the current WPF owner, and you guys can get mad at him. But
I did this to keep my family safe. Yeah.
yeah, no, it is a contractual obligation. You will see that the votes on the bottom were very resounding.
Yeah, because Techno bribed everyone. All jokes aside.
No,
All jokes
all
aside.
jokes aside, the thing that did it for me, the top three are obviously insanely good, but I love that it's supported by an Aloe, Terra Hydrapple, Moltres defensive core. Like, that is just
Who hurt you,
nasty to
Techno?
break. That is nasty to break. Like, I would just, like, forfeit on team preview. Like, this is so hard to break, so hard to switch into, so hard to try and craft a defensive
It
plan
almost doesn't
against.
matter
It's
that
just
that you have 3 not real Mons on this team. Like, that doesn't matter. This team is just
I think it's
absurd.
just crazy. Yeah.
Like,
Two great
Bloodsire's
Terra
not really a
captains.
real Mon, nor is Ampharos or Mabostiff, but
Yeah.
all the
Hey,
other...
Ampharos can do things every once in a while.
I will say, yeah, like that top three is so incredible,
I don't think the
and
top 6 are incredible.
oh, definitely. I think like even the fact that like I think you could potentially argue that like the team doesn't have a top tier Terra captain. Like Hydro is crazy on its own. It's been getting insane results.
Yeah,
And
I think it had something crazy, like 100% win rate in DPL.
dang.
It's just a great regenerator mod. It really is. Like, it doesn't
yeah,
even
you
need
have
U-turn or any kind of pivot.
you have your mini region core with Mola Hydro and
It's hardly mini.
that's true. It's just a region core.
It's hardly mini.
I think
I would think
Wish Mola is also so good for Terapagos here.
And Metagross.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Metagross. Metagross really wants recovery.
Yeah,
Like
this team.
Metagross, I have the combo of Aloe Metagross. Metagross is insane.
Oh,
Like,
totally.
I think it's underutilized a lot. Like, I think, like, I've seen it a lot of times recently, this thing just doesn't get drafted, and I'm like, you are missing out, because this thing is insane.
And then yeah, I mean, we talked earlier about how good a lot of the like top ghost types are, and how if you can
And then
pair
you have
them with a strong
the
fighting,
ghost type.
you've got the
And now
ghost
you have-
type, and then the fighting
the
type,
fighting type.
arguably. Like alongside,
Yeah.
like, sure, alongside like Polt and like Zenta, but like these guys
I
are
would
right
like-
up there with them.
I would like to lodge a complaint with the Psycho Boost division. Why did y'all let Spectre fall around 3?
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. I don't know how that happened.
And I'm surprised Terra Hydrapple went as low as it did, but I can see with such seasoned players, and Hydrapple Terra has been talk of the town for just like Zarude for about a year now, and how people are probably getting a little sick of all the glaze, and it's just like sometimes Pokemon like that just kind of fall out, they fall through the cracks, and Techno just snagged it. That was such a clutch pick.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I think this team is just great.
Yeah, no, I think Techno really hit the nail on the head here. I think it's a great squad.
So fantastic. I mean, Terapagos is the only spinner, but it's one of the most reliable Pokemon to get hazards off the field, and 9 times out of 10, it's just going to have boots and come in later to, shut down a sweep, get a spin off, maybe a Calm Mind, kill a Monitor with Terra Starstorm. It's just so good. It's just so reliable. It's so consistent.
And the other thing is, Terapagos' best counters objectively are ghost types. But ghost types want nothing to do with a team that has Spectrier on it.
Definitely not, unless your name's Dragapult. But then again, it's still not the best. Spectre's special bulk is extremely respectable. And Dragapult doesn't really have physical ghost stab unless you want to go with a power herb set. I mean, you can just switch out of that.
And the other thing about having Terapagos and Spectrier, you took one of Spectrier's best answers with Spectrier.
That's very true. I mean, it's
like Terapagos is probably
the best.
I think Terapagos is objectively the best normal type in the game, and you need a normal type to beat Spectrier. But you have both the best normal, the best ghost, and the best fighting. You have all three of those.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think it's
Techno,
Yeah.
if you do not do well with this team, I'm removing you from league order position because I definitely have that power.
yeah.
He's already 2-0, I'm pretty sure. I think he's going to be doing just fine.
All
If I'm
right.
recalling correctly,
Yeah.
he beat Braviary with what is it, Super Sweet. I forget what the ability that like lowers. I don't even know what it
sweet
lowers.
syrup.
Super
Super Sweet
Syrup,
Syrup.
yeah.
Oh boy.
Boosted a
Super Sweet Syrup
Defiant.
Hydrapple, it boosted Braviary's Defiant, and then Braviary
Yeah.
proceeded to do like 70% to a Metagross with Brave Bird.
Yeah, that was a little crazy, but like he still pulled it through just because the team is that good.
Exactly.
The team is just that good. It's just you have mons on this team that can turn a game around in an instant. It's just such a good team.
Yeah. No, I think overall Techno really pulled it off. I'm noticing our runtime is going on pretty long, so I think, yeah. Thanks you guys for watching. Thanks to Lantern and to Sam for helping out here, and we hope you tune in for the attack, speed, and defense PRs coming up soon. Again, congrats to all the players here. Even if you're not high up on the list, you guys definitely have a shot. It definitely doesn't have an impact on your chances of success. And good luck to everyone. All right, and yeah, I think that's everything we had for you guys today. So have a good rest of your season, everyone.